Hello everyone, Ron here from L.T.L Tutoring Central. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Just popping in to do this intro video for this particular overall video of collocations in between marking papers behind me. And it's not so bad, you know. It's good to be able to go over things with students. Sometimes students say, oh no, he's marking my paper, but it means that we'll be able to look at ways to improve, and that's a positive thing, as long as you approach it in a positive manner. All right, let's approach these collocations in a positive way. They're just English expressions, things that we use all the time, but sometimes non-native speakers or writers have difficulty knowing when to use them or how to use them correctly. So check them out. There's a number of collocation videos I've done. There is a playlist for collocations and a playlist for idioms, a playlist for story reading, and some other playlists as well. Just check in the description or look around the channel. Some I put in the description, some you need to just check out the playlist, and you can see underneath the heading of playlist what they all are. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you have, thank you very much for that. It really does help. Clicking on the notifications helps too. And other than that, you could just come back and check out the channel anytime to see what's happening. Also, if you're interested in my private personalized lessons, send me an email. I can send you further information, or we can even have an online free information meeting for that. Let's have a look at some collocations. Here we go. The first one is admit defeat, and that means to accept that you have lost in some way. For example, after trying to assemble the table, Adam finally had to admit defeat. In other words, he wasn't able to put the table together. Maybe he was having difficulty following the directions. You know, nowadays, if you buy something that you have to assemble, they often just come with pictures. They don't even have words anymore. So I have found sometimes it's quite challenging to figure out what do they mean. So Adam finally had to admit defeat. He was not able to get the table together. When all the votes were counted and recounted, Kathy finally admitted defeat. So this is a race. It sounds like a political race of some kind. And she just didn't get enough votes to win. So this is a literal defeat. Once the votes were counted, and maybe they rechecked, they recounted them, but she just didn't get enough votes. So she admitted defeat, accepted that she lost the race. Afraid of was feeling fear or worry about something. For example, are you afraid of spiders? I hope you're not too afraid, because I did put a cartoon picture of a spider there. I don't love spiders. I think they're actually amazing creatures. I love them outside. Making their webs is interesting to watch them and learn about them. Wonderful arachnids, but I don't really like them in the house, and I don't really like them on me, that's for sure. But I do recognize that they're very useful creatures. So are you afraid of spiders? Don't be afraid of taking risks to advance your career. So this is a kind of different kind of being afraid. In other words, don't worry, don't be too anxious about taking some risks. Of course, you don't want to take irresponsible risks, but sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone in order to advance your career, or even just in your personal development. Sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone or take a risk. So don't be afraid of taking risks to improve yourself in some way. Next, we have can't afford, which means you don't have enough money or resources. For example, George realizes that he simply can't afford that new sports car. So we got a pretty cool looking sports car there, but it probably costs a lot of money. And George recognizes that he doesn't have enough money to buy the car. He can't afford to buy that car. But it's not always literally about money. For example, we can't afford to ignore the effects of climate change. This means we can't ignore it. It's going to be too expensive, but not necessarily in terms of money, although that might be related. But if we don't pay attention to it, the problems are going to increase, and more people are going to be harmed by the effects of climate change. So if we can mitigate it now, it would be much better. So we can't afford to ignore the effects of climate change. Pleased to. Now this can be used in many ways, but we have a couple of examples here. It generally means feeling satisfied or happy about something. And probably the most common one would be, I'm pleased to meet you, or I am very pleased to meet you. And that's why I've got a picture of shaking hands there. So when you first meet somebody, um, this is just a common expression. I'm pleased to meet you. I'm happy to meet you. Uh, yeah. Second example, Margaret was pleased to help her sister move to another house. So she was happy to help her. She wanted to help her. It's her sister. And so she was pleased to help her sister. Next, we have make a promise. It means to commit to do something in the future. For example, Dad made a promise to buy the children bicycles for Christmas. So Dad committed to purchasing these bicycles for the children. Don't make a promise unless you intend to keep it. I think that's very good advice. You really shouldn't go around promising this and promising that. Make sure that you reserve that word for when you really do intend to do something. And sometimes things come up where you can't, but generally speaking, reserve it for something that you truly are going to do. You're committing to doing something in the future. If you say you promise to do something, you really should follow up on it. Okay, there you have it. A few more collocations to add to your repertoire. Admit defeat, afraid of. I hope you're not afraid of too many things. Can't afford. I hope you can afford anything that you actually need. Pleased to. Maybe one day we'll be able to say pleased to meet you to one another if we meet online or in person. And make a promise. Always make sure before you make a promise that you actually intend to carry out whatever it is you're promising. Otherwise, maybe it's just a suggestion or a possibility, but not really a promise. Promise should be something you're really committed to. I hope you're committed to watching some more educational videos. If you are, don't forget to hit subscribe, and don't forget to click on the notifications too. That way you'll be notified when there are new videos coming up. Otherwise, you can always just pop back into the channel, maybe check out some of the stories that we've done, some of the reading and discussions of articles that we've done, some Shakespeare, of course, collocations and idioms too. In the meantime, I just want you to keep learning and keep having fun. It is Ron from L.T.L Tutoring Central. Bye-bye for now.